Superman, directed by James Gunn, is the first DCU film. In honor of this big release, let's rank every single DC film from worst to best. Hey movie watchers, thank you guys for stopping by my channel. I'm really excited to talk about every single DC movie that was released in theaters. Going into this, I had some rules, so I wasn't going to try to watch every single thing there was. I'm not going to include the DC animated films, even if a couple of them had a one-day release. I will be including the films from DC imprints like Vertigo, Paradox Press, and Wildstorm, because there are some good films within that list. We're gonna go from Superman and the Mole Men to Superman by James Gunn, so let's get started. Coming in at number 57, Steel. This is easily the worst DC film.
Oh, I know. Kazam, you know, the one where Shaq plays a genie?
That's not a horror movie.
Well, you haven't seen Shaq act.
Shaquille O'Neal is not a good actor. He provides a very wooden performance within this film, and unfortunately, it isn't one of those films that's so bad it's good. I understand that there is some camp to it. It takes itself quite seriously at times that you just cannot really have any fun with it. It spends so much time in the beginning building up these villains to where Shaquille O'Neal decides that, hey, I need to become this hero. He builds his suit, which looks bad, by the way. And then that's where you kind of ramp up the action, but it's all filmed very poorly. There's so much dedication in the beginning that where you just kind of lose interest by the time that Shaquille O'Neal does actually become this hero and gets on the suit. There are some cheesy moments at the end with Susan Sparks with her modification to her wheelchair that did have me laughing, but overall this is just a terrible movie with a poor performance from Shaquille O'Neal that adds no emotion, no personality to the film, and it's easily the one I could care less about. Coming in number 56, Supergirl. This has just an odd way of going about it. In the beginning of the film, Kara goes to Earth to retrieve this powerful item, but from there on, it loses all sense of urgency. It becomes more of this teen drama, and it just has this odd group of characters that's really kind of pulling itself away from its initial setup. With limited action and poor dialogue, it's really hard to get through as it does lose its focus multiple times throughout, and there's really no development for Kara as a character. Seeing some struggles on Earth, she's able to adapt pretty easily, and it just loses all sense of urgency or intensity that this film could have, and just kind of goes with the motion of not really caring what it does next. It's a poor setup with really bad dialogue, and then from there on it seems to forget what that initial setup was. Coming in at number 55, Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. Even though that this film sits very low on the list, I still really like Christopher Reeve as Superman. He embodies everything that I love about Superman. He cares about people. He is this symbol for hope within this film, and he gives such a good performance even in the fourth film, even if it's regarded as one of the worst superhero films out there. Lex Luthor still really hamming it up within this film, and having a Nuclear Man in here really adds no sense of action within this film. They don't know how to handle the fight sequences. Everything just looks terrible. The plot is ridiculous. There isn't much for Superman to do, and there's not much to really even latch onto. The first two Superman films are really good. You're going to see them much higher on this list. The third film, not very good either, but this fourth film, it's just lacking in excitement. The world is at a hostile arms race, and that even can't add depth to the film. Everything about Quest for Peace, from the dialogue to the choppy editing to Nuclear Man, Lex Luthor, it's terrible within this film. Luckily, Christopher Reeve is still really good as Clark Kent, and there are some endearing moments for him as this character, but everything else just is terrible. Coming in at number 54, Catwoman. This was such an odd movie, and I remember watching it a couple times as a kid, but watching it now as an adult, I don't understand fully what this plot was about.
Mr. Krabs, I am so confused.
You have Halle Berry that turns into the Catwoman but ignores everything that was prior to the Catwoman. Being this burglar that was misunderstood, now she's just fully Catwoman, and she can really tap into being a cat. There's this plot line of this makeup that's gone bad and an evil business person. There's just very odd storyline choices within here. It's very campy, and unfortunately I don't think that was their choice. It now is more of a comedic film. Halle Berry's fine with the film. It's the overall storyline that is absolutely terrible, going from her becoming this Catwoman and these heightened senses to now this makeup that's being used and this evil business person. It's just an absolutely terrible plot. Coming in at number 53, Superman. There are aspects of Superman 3 that I do like, especially when it comes to this rekindling romance with his high school sweetheart. But then you venture into the more supercomputer side of it all that is absolutely ridiculous. We have Richard Pryor in here, and I think Richard Pryor is absolutely hilarious, a great actor. He was a very odd pick for this film. You could tell that they were trying to go for a comedic route for this character that was maybe more misunderstood, had these quirks to him. He was manipulating the system, but it was an odd choice for a character that really toned down this film. Now it is more of this comedy. It tries to be silly, especially with this wealthy executive, Ross Webster, and it wants to be this more serious, dramatic film when it comes to the supercomputer, but then you have all these moments that just don't work as this drama. It's more of this campy tone with Richard Pryor breaking up a lot of the tension within this film. And then you have that romantic side of it all that is a highlight within the film, but it's just all over the place with what they are doing. Coming in at number 52, The Return of Swamp Thing. The first Swamp Thing was very grounded in being a horror film, and that was directed by Wes Craven. And this film is a completely different turn. Heather Locklear is investigating her stepfather's evil corporation, and the Swamp Thing is involved with it all. And it seems almost like the Swamp Thing is a secondary character within his own film. Many things about this film was absolutely campy. A lot of the minor characters have these ridiculous one-liners, and the Swamp Thing is now like in full form of being this hero, like this savior, which was very different from that first film. And so now this movie is all about jokes. It's all about just ridiculous moments. And you have other creatures that are being transformed within this film that does kind of break up the mold from that first film, which I did find to be entertaining, but this is such a bad movie. It looks bad. It's a poor quality film that is more relying on the conversations between characters. It's more relying on the characters and the plot to kind of move itself forward. But even focusing on Heather Locklear, I didn't find that to be all entertaining. I wanted a little more of the Swamp Thing because he was pretty entertaining. Even within this film, even if it was bad, I still like seeing him, how ridiculous it was. Coming at number 51, The Spirit. Spirit has gone through many different publishers, but DC Comics reprinted the entirety of Eisner's run in a 26-volume color collection. 1990s to the 2010s, DC also published stories for The Spirit. This is directed by Frank Miller. Prior to this, directed Sin City, which I absolutely love. And it seemed like The Spirit was going to be more in style to Sin City, which I remember being excited for when this film was released. This is a very lackluster, very simple movie that has a great cast behind it with Samuel Jackson and Scarlett Johansson, but even they can't save this film. This is such a boring movie. The style is there and it does feel very reminiscent to Sin City, so at least the style is something to appreciate within this film. But this rookie cop, Denny Colt, returns from the beyond as the Spirit, who's on this mission to fight against the bad forces of Central City. And there's no intensity to this film. There is no heart, no development for Denny as a character. There's no personality to it. Everything that they tried to attempt for the Spirit is lacking in its own style. Like the directing's fine by Frank Miller, and I like the look of it, but the characters, the development, the dialogue, everything about these characters, I just could care less about. There was no redeeming quality about the Spirit. Nothing that I was like, I want to watch that again, or maybe I misunderstood it this time around. Let me check it out again. It's a very simple film that doesn't do much with it. It's not a film that, oh, it's so bad, it's good, and I found it to be fun because of how terrible it is. No, it's just a terrible movie that did not work. Coming in at number 50, Jonah Hex. Jonah Hex had such potential. Good cast with Josh Brolin and Megan Fox and John Malkovich. It seemed like Jonah Hex was going to be such a cool film back in 2010. I remember being in college and really anticipating this film because I was just going to the movies quite often back when I was in college. And so I wanted to check out Jonah Hex. It's a short film at like 81 minutes long, and they don't do much to fully explain Jonah Hex as a character. He can talk to the dead. They don't really use that too much, a couple times here and there to get information that he needs, but it's a film that just moves from point A to point B and then we're done. It's a movie that moves so quick. With its runtime being 81 minutes long, you can't do much with it. You can't develop the characters. You can't have these intense moments. You can't have dramatic scenes. The action is very choppy. Every time that you get to like a big action scene, it goes to the next scene very quickly without having any redeeming moments throughout. Josh Brolin's fine. Not much to kind of sell this character or add any personality to it. But everything about Jonah Hex it's boring. I think that this film could have worked, being this Western action film that has a darker tone to it. Really could have worked if this movie was maybe like 30 minutes longer and you were able to flesh out these characters, really tap into its style. This could have been so much different, but unfortunately it isn't. It's a movie that is not one of those films that's so bad it's good. It's just bad. It's just a bad movie. Coming in at number 49, Superman and the Mole Men. This is the first Superman film, the first DC film, so it's important to talk about. It's a film that had a lot of restraints with its budget, being released so many years ago, being black and white, and so many miles away from Metropolis. You're telling a very different story. There isn't much action in here. It's more like conversations between characters. This creature feature these mole men that come from the ground that are supposed to be terrifying. They're not. And George Reeves is fine in here. He's gentle to the mole men. He's more understanding, but like those restraints, like I said, you can't do much with the mole men. You can't have the action scenes, so you have to rely on other things to tell the story that do seem very simple. So it is odd putting it on this ranking compared to like more big budget films and movies that failed with a certain budget. It had its restraints. It worked at times, but for a simple less than an hour movie, I think they could have done a lot more. Coming in at number 48, Batman and Robin. I watched this movie so many times as a kid, and I understood how bad it was as a kid. And as an adult, this is just a film full of puns, jokes, ridiculous moments. It feels like a comic book movie. It feels like a cartoon with people. And I love it. I still think it is a terrible movie, but it is like the definition of a film that is so bad it is good. The choices in here, like someone had to think that this was stupid when they were making it. Like it was absolutely dumb with the choices, like the Batman credit card and all of the puns, and Arnold Schwarzenegger as Sub-Zero, and Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze. The choices, people actually sat down and thought about these and said, yeah, that's what I want to do with this film. And it just leads to a good time. It steers so much into the camp that you can have the absolutely like good time with it. It is a blast of a film. Coming in at number 47, Justice League, directed by Joss Whedon. This is a movie that had a lot of troubles going into it, with Zack Snyder originally directing it and then Joss Whedon coming in to take control. It was doomed from when it was released. Unfortunately, I don't think Joss Whedon's style worked for this film. Zack Snyder's style is very much his own, and when Joss Whedon came in to kind of go off of all of that, it did not work. And some of the choices that Joss Whedon, what he did with the film, I understand that he had this hard task of continuing what Zack Snyder did, but everything about this movie is poorly conceived, from the chemistry between the characters, some of the changing to the lighting and the style. It seemed to be more brighter at times. It was very inconsistent with its choices. Big villains seemed rushed and underdeveloped. The group dynamics was very off, and you really didn't care so much about like Cyborg and the Flash and Batman and the introduction and bringing Superman back into the film. Everything seemed rushed and incomplete within this film. I remember going to see it in theaters and being just baffled by some of the choices within this film, and that was all due to Joss Whedon coming in and completing the film, and his choices really halt this movie of being a good Justice League. Like, we were all excited to see Wonder Woman and Batman and Superman and the Flash all together in a film. An action-packed movie would have been really exciting, but with Warner Brothers saying we need to have it less than 2 hours long, and then Joss Whedon coming into it all, there was a lot of things that just affected this movie from the start, and the end product is not very good. Coming in at number 46, Swamp Thing. This isn't Wes Craven's best film. I really like the atmosphere within this movie. The overall swamp setting adds a certain vibe to the movie that I thought was lacking in Return of the Swamp Thing. This movie, it lacks a more impressive story. It ventures more into like this horror route to it all. Watching Alec Baldwin become this half human, half plant superhero, it did really take its time and didn't deliver so much on him being this hero at the end, and the action, it seemed to move at this sluggish pace in the beginning that threw off the film and the overall tone of the movie. I thought the setting worked and the performances are fine, and I thought the rubber suit was entertaining. Like, I think rubber suits are hilarious. I've watched so many Godzilla films that this was like, okay, yeah, fun, let's check this movie out. But it certainly isn't Wes Craven's best movie. It's lacking an intriguing story, but does deliver on its atmosphere, which I did like. Coming in number 45, Green Lantern. I remember seeing this movie in theaters when it was released and thought it was fine. To this day, I still think it's fine. Ryan Reynolds does his best to hold this movie together. He easily is the best part of the film. I like Ryan Reynolds as an actor. I liked him in Green Lantern. I like him in Deadpool. I like him in all the other movies that I've seen. Many people don't like him as an actor, but I like his comedy and how he's able to break up a lot of the tension within the film, but also bring a lot of heart to the movie. The CGI is absolutely terrible. It unfortunately is one of those movies that has to rely on so much CGI, and I think it would look much better now, but back then it didn't look so good. But from that, it's very generic. Like, it tells the most predictable like superhero origin film. Like, it just feels very familiar, and up to that point we've had many superhero origin films. We had Batman Begins, and we had Iron Man. It could have done something a little bit different, but it was just a very straightforward superhero origin film. Understanding the character, he got his ring, he had his big battle, that was it. And even some of the heightened action scenes didn't have like any intensity. I thought the villain was very lackluster, had a poor ending to the film. I do like it a little more than others. I could see why people would put this at like at the last place or like within the bottom 5. Ryan Reynolds, it does his best to hold this film together. It's funny at times. I liked some of the sequences of him learning to be a Green Lantern and all of his abilities. I thought that was pretty interesting, but like I said, it feels very familiar and generic, and they could have done something very unique with this film. Coming in at number 44, The Losers. This is another one of their DC imprints. This movie could have been one of those crazy, very energetic action films. Had the characters to provide those crazy moments. Chris Evans was a lot of fun in here, and I think the entire cast is decent within the film. But once you get your initial vibe in the beginning of being this quick, funny comedy action movie, it just kind of falls apart in the middle half. And they try their best to have these quirky moments throughout, especially with Chris Evans and the elevator sequence. They tried to have these moments that really make it stand out, but unfortunately, like, they'll do like this quick little fun action scene, this comedic bit, and then it just falls apart again, and it just goes downhill very quick. And then they try to do something else to kind of pick up its speed, and it just does not work. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Zoe Saldana, Chris Evans, Idris Elba, they all have good chemistry within the film, but it's really like only Chris Evans that has the identity, the personality to the character. Everybody else just feels like this one-dimensional character that adds nothing to the movie. The action's fine throughout, the comedy is decent enough, but it really feels like it's few and far between to be this heightened action comedy film, that if they really wanted to tap into it, just provide more of it, because it goes off the rails multiple times and becomes this boring action film. Coming in at number 43, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I had a hard time deciding to put this one on the list or not. It was released in 2003 from Wildstorm. It's loosely based on League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, so I decided to just put it on this list and call it safe. I remember watching this movie as a kid, and I think it's an important film as it's Sean Connery's last movie. I really like Sean Connery. I loved him as James Bond, my favorite Bond. And I really like the concept behind this movie. All the characters were quite interesting, and the setup was fun, and the group was entertaining enough, but it lacked a certain style to it. Unfortunately, it is one of those movies that does feel it's not memorable. Like, I watched it as a kid, and I kind of remember certain aspects to it, but it wasn't a film that I was able to piece everything together. And watching it as an adult, there wasn't many moments that I remember that scene as a kid, or, oh, that was my favorite moment from watching it when I was younger. I remember Sean Connery and the Invisible Man a couple times throughout, but that's about it. And as an adult, now fully sitting down and watching it, that's still kind of how I feel about it, is that it has these moments, these sparks of creativity, and you're having these nice, like, group vibe to it with Sean Connery's character and the Invisible Man. There's moments of potential and moments that really could work. I overall like the steampunk kind of gothic vibe to it, but the plot is very rushed. You have like your nice amount of setup in the beginning for getting the group together, but from there on, the plot goes through really quick, and you can't really comprehend what's going on or be fully invested with everything that is happening. This could have been a charming, exciting action film with enough style to it, and it relies heavily on its unique characters and its nice setup, but doesn't do much with it moving forward. Joker Folie à Deux. This is an abomination. I was baffled by this movie. I didn't like it, and there were so many moments that I found to be truly shocking. I understood what the film was going to be about going into it. I understood that, hey, it's going to be a musical, very different than the previous Joker film, but it didn't know what it wanted to be. Like, it said, okay, we're going to be this musical, then we're going to be this courtroom drama, then we're going to be this romance film between Joker and Harley Quinn, which I really like Lady Gaga in this film, and I really still like Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker. They're fine within this film. It's just, it's very inconsistent with what it wanted to be. Did it want to be this full-on musical? I don't know. Did it want to be this courtroom drama? I don't know. Did it want to be this romance film? I don't know. And I've watched it a couple times, seeing if I could like change my mind a little bit about this film. I just can't. It's a very inconsistent movie. That the styles there, the performances are fine, but it's a movie that is just an absolute mess. Coming in number 41, Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad was another big letdown. I was excited for this film when it was released in 2016. Looking forward to Will Smith and who else was in this movie? Margot Robbie and can't think about who else is in this movie. I had to look it up. Totally forgot Jared Leto was in this movie as the Joker. That's how bad this movie is. It's not a memorable movie. It had its style. I know there was a lot of issues going into directing this film by David Ayer and some conflict between Warner Brothers and David Ayer, so that, you know, would really affect this movie. But it wants to be like a film that was like Guardians of the Galaxy, taking this very unique group of characters, give them hearts, have comedy and action and just bright sequences and loud music, and they just kind of like throw everything at this movie. They throw loud music, they throw color, they throw wild performances, but it misses its mark. Like, you're throwing something at a wall and it's not sticking. Like, I like a lot of aspects of this film. I thought the soundtrack was great. I like Margot Robbie and Will Smith and Jared Leto and Joel Kinnaman and Jai Courtney and Viola Davis. I like them all within this film. And I thought some of the visuals were good as well, but it misses so much. Like the villain aspect of it with Cara Delevingne did not work. They completely messed that up and ended up being just this rushed, incomplete look at that character. And then some of the group dynamics really seemed off. There wasn't much like chemistry between the characters. I know they're all villains and stuff, but what James Gunn did with the Suicide Squad, he understood like the characters and the heart and kind of growing them and having more structure to it all. That was completely missing within the film. Like, they're all there, they have their job, but they don't really develop them as characters. Coming in at number 40, Batman Forever. I remember watching Batman Forever a lot as a kid, more so Batman and Robin because of how ridiculous it was. I liked Val Kilmer as Batman and Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face and Jim Carrey as the Riddler. There's a lot of silly moments in here. I think it does have this nice balance of being very cartoony when it comes to the Riddler, and then you have more of a darker aspect when it comes to the overall look of the movie and some of the action, and Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face. But it's still very campy and cartoony, but it seems to have this more of a balance that is able to complement itself, especially when you look at the villains too. This bright green villain, the Riddler, and then more of a darker look for Two-Face. It's very different. And I think that the film is able to understand both sides to being bright and dark as well. Minute number 39, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I like the first Aquaman. I didn't check out Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom in theaters when it was released. Saw it many months after its release. And even when it was released, I didn't think there was like a lot of hype to the movie. It just seemed like it came and went very quickly. I thought the choice of bringing back the villain from the previous movie, Black Manta, was odd, that you kind of feel like it's being repeated at times. I like the relationship between Aquaman and his brother, understanding that a little more, added some unique moments to the film. But it's a movie I really didn't care much for. The action's fun. The overall plot with Black Manta seemed to be poorly executed, and I just didn't really find his plot to be all that menacing to Aquaman. Like, I understood that it had like its troubles for Aquaman and some moments that tested him as a character, but it never really reached its heights. Like I was watching this movie, I thought, can you have some dramatic moments with him and his son and his brother? And it just kind of, it was fine with being like the bare minimum. Like it didn't venture more into fully developing these characters or having heart to it all or having a lot of these big action scenes. It was fine with just what it wanted to do. Coming in at number 38, The Kitchen. This is another one of their DC imprints, and I don't think it is as bad as people make it out to be. Yes, there is some quick transition from the women to becoming these women that are collecting money for the mob, and it seems like a very abrupt change for the characters. But I did like the performances in here from Melissa McCarthy to Tiffany Haddish. I know them more as comedians, and so going into this almost like this drama, they work well within the film. They do sell this very dramatic performance. There isn't much comedy throughout. It's just more of a serious film. And I do think that Melissa McCarthy and Tiffany Haddish both really surprised me when I saw this film. Coming in at number 37, Batman v Superman. Still to this day, I still believe that there's potential for this film to be good. It had enough elements within it to be a very solid Batman and Superman film, but there unfortunately is a lot to weigh this movie down. I don't like Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. I didn't think Wonder Woman needed to be in this film. There is some odd choices when it comes to exploring Batman and Superman's relationship, but I really like Ben Affleck as Batman. Really cool, and I wish we would have got a solo Batman film. He is so solid in the film, and I loved some of the brief moments in Gotham. It was awesome, and I still really like Henry Cavill as Clark Kent. The film is just way too long when you should have just solely focused on Batman and Superman and their relationship and tension amongst the two, this conflict. But when you start to venture out into building the Justice League and having Wonder Woman in the film and Lex Luthor's convoluted plot within the film, it starts to really lose its focus. I like Zack Snyder's style within this movie. It's gritty at times, it's very bleak, but I think they could have done so much. I thought they could have done so much more with the story instead of going off in all these different directions and trying to set up a Justice League movie. Coming in at number 36, Shazam! Fury of the Gods. This is the sequel I thought was significantly less entertaining than the first Shazam film. The big thing I liked about this movie is the more focus on the family as them as superheroes. I thought that was really entertaining. You see just more of the stronger group within the film from when they're teenagers or kids and their superhero counterpart as well. I thought that was all nicely done and added a lot more depth to Billy Batson within the film, more understanding of what he's going through and actually looking for a family. I thought the villain side of it all was undercooked and didn't have that potential to be all that exciting, and it just seemed way less memorable than the previous villain in the first Shazam film. It's way too cartoony, doesn't pair nicely with the family vibe within the film. The action's nice in here, it's filmed very well, and there is a lot of development for the family, Billy's family within the movie. But with Rachel Zegler's character and Helen Mirren, I thought that their characters were fairly weak and paper thin to where I really didn't care so much about them. But everything else I appreciated about the movie. Coming in at number 35, Red. I like this Bruce Willis action film. I thought Mary Louise Parker was so entertaining in the film that she was unaware what was going on, but she wanted to put herself in the situation, and she had such a fun relationship with John Malkovich within the film. It's entertaining enough, even if it does feel like a generic action film at times. The characters is what sold me on this film. I like Bruce Willis, plays typical Bruce Willis. Mary Louise Parker's a lot of fun. John Malkovich, Morgan Freeman, Helen Mirren, Carl Urban, they're all a lot of fun within this film. So there is enough to that generic action film to be entertaining. Like, it's not going in surprising routes, it's not trying to be very unique, but it has fun with that typical genre and the typical storyline. So there is enough chemistry between the characters and enough action throughout to be at least an entertaining generic action movie. Coming in at number 34, The Flash. I remember The Flash was released and people would call this the best superhero film of all time, and I was tricked. I remember going into The Flash being so hyped that people said, oh yeah, it's the best since The Dark Knight, it's the best since Endgame, it's the best thing that there is. Y'all lied. The Flash is all right. It's very convoluted, it's messy, but there are aspects of The Flash that I do like. Ezra Miller is good as The Flash, a little too energetic and chaotic at times, but I thought it worked, and two of them just seemed a little bit too much. I loved seeing Michael Keaton return as Bruce Wayne, the Batman, in here. That was amazing. Still really awesome. And having Supergirl in here as well, that was really entertaining, and it just added more to the story that's going on in here. I like how I was able to connect to the first Man of Steel film and having the complications within it and the consequences moving forward, but there was that emotional connection to Barry's character to where you cared about him and his journey of protecting his mother. That was a solid aspect of the film that did give it its personality. Coming in at number 33, Black Adam. This one improves every time I watch it. It's a simple superhero film. I like Dwayne Johnson as Black Adam. Very serious performance, but when he jokes around a couple times here and there, it really lightens the tone. I love the Justice Society in here, from Hawkman, Atom Smasher, Cyclone, and Dr. Fate. Those are really interesting characters, and I would love to see, and I remember seeing Black Adam and wanting a spin-off for Justice Society because all those characters were interesting, had a lot to do in the plot, had a lot to do in the film, and they just stood out within the film. The action's fun. It's a pretty straightforward DCEU film. It doesn't reach certain heights. It's just fine with being a simple action movie. It reminds me so much of an early 2000s superhero film, but I liked it. I thought the performances were cool, the action's fun, it has this nice style to it. It does remind me of previous superhero films, but it is fun, and one that does grow on me every time I watch it. I understand its flaws with its story, its script, and being really thin, but the Justice Society is really cool. I like Dwayne Johnson in here. At times it seems a little bit awkward, but I ended up liking this movie. Coming in at number 32, Blue Beetle. This is very similar to Black Adam, is that every time I do rewatch it, I do appreciate it a little more. Jaime Reyes is a very likable character, and all of his family members are likable as well. They provide a lot of energy to the film. I love the color palette to it. It seems very vibrant and energetic. Susan Sarandon as the villain, I thought was very weak and didn't really add any intensity to the film, but I really liked Jaime Reyes understanding his position in all of this, becoming this superhero, what it means to be a hero, but having his family involved as well. It just has that strong family connection within this movie that adds a lot of depth to the story. It's got some really fun scenes. It's very colorful throughout. It's got this nice message about family and being connected to them. Blue Beetle is a fun superhero. Reminds me a lot of Spider-Man. Young, still learning things, very eager to help and save the day. But there's a lot of heart to it, and it cares about the characters, it cares about the minor characters, it cares about the story. The villain side of it all, very weak, but everything else, I liked it. Coming at number 31, Constantine. A few of these movies are first time watches, and Constantine is one of them. I was really looking forward to watching this film. It seemed like a cult classic directed by Francis Lawrence, starring Keanu Reeves. That seemed really exciting to me. I knew enough about the character and the overall story going into it, so I was very aware of the plot of this film, but it's got this mixture of demonic horror moments and religion and a goofy comic book style to it. I liked a lot of the action with Constantine and the demons throughout. It seems to kind of amp up some of the silly comic book style to it. The setup of the story with Constantine and his abilities teaming up with a policewoman to investigate the suicide of her twin sister. I thought the initial setup of his abilities and the world that he lives in and his connection with this police officer, I thought was a strong start for the film. But moving forward after that, it has a very sluggish pace. It moves very slowly to where it's not amping up that plot and all of the action and the cool, unique style of that character. It moves fairly slow to where you're not getting the full potential of this movie. Made in at number 30, Wonder Woman 1984. The first time I watched it, it would have been much lower on the list. Watching a second time, I liked the movie. I thought it was really campy and reminded me of a classic superhero film, but it does feel ridiculous. It feels very over the top. Maxwell Lord and Kristen Wiig as the cheetah, I thought was all just very cliche and over the top, very silly, but I like that about the movie. Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord is great and just a very cliche, over the top villain that just wants power. And Cheetah Kristen Wiig was good in the film. I thought it was really silly at the end with all the action, but I like the film. And so I'm excited to watch it again and again to see if I really just end up appreciating it a little more. Coming in at number 29, Red 2. The reason I like this film a little more is that it has a bigger cast, and Mary Louise Parker is way more entertaining with John Malkovich throughout the film. The action feels very similar to that first film. The characters all feel a little bit similar. Bruce Willis is still a very serious character within the film, but we do have more characters in this movie. And so with more people involved, you have different styles of comedy, and it does seem a little bit long at times and a little bit convoluted. Characters go from one place to the other very quickly, but Mary Louise Parker just provides all of this energy to the film, and I like that she is being told by Bruce Willis, hey, like, can you not get involved? I want to protect you. And then you find her secretly holding a gun and getting involved with more of the sequences. I love how jittery she is to be involved with the movie, and that's just a big highlight of the movie for me. Coming in at number 28, Stardust. This is directed by Matthew Vaughn. I checked it out when I saw the latest Matthew Vaughn film, Argylle, and it's like one of the closest things to The Princess Bride, and I love that about this movie. The fantasy element is very strong. It has a very intriguing story. It has Charlie Cox within this film, as well as Robert De Niro. It's got a really good cast that's able to build off the lore within Stardust. Michelle Pfeiffer is really fun in here as well. I just loved the elements to it, and how we're able to tell this very interesting story that is centered around fantasy elements, and it all works. From the performances to the story to the visuals, everything about this film was really entertaining, and I just recently watched it for the first time when Argylle was released, and I was really captivated by it all. I heard about it in the mid 2000s when it was released, never checked it out, but when I watched it for Argylle, I really liked how it felt very similar to The Princess Bride in its tone and how charming it really was. Coming at number 27, Teen Titans Go to the Movies. This is such a fun animated film. I have not watched the Teen Titans animated show, and when I watched this movie, I loved all of the pop culture references, characters wanting their own movie like Robin. You're able to also have a storyline within this film, but also have all those references, and it feels like a bunch of episodes stringed together. It pokes fun at how many superheroes were getting their own films in the mid 2010s. And many things were getting spin-offs. Like you had a little reference of Alfred getting his own movie, and the Batmobile getting his own movie as well. So it's pretty funny. The characters are really entertaining. It's chaotic, it's funny, it's charming. I really liked the movie. I'm constantly laughing throughout. I like the characters, cameos from big superheroes as well. It's able to build multiple storylines throughout, but also have some funny moments along the way. Coming in at number 26, Batman the movie, the very first Batman film with Adam West. This aimed to be a very campy, silly film, and it succeeded at that. When you look at other films that try to be a little more serious, but it ends up being campy, you can tell that they missed their mark. That's not the case for this movie. This movie is a lot of fun. From the puns to the quick one-liners to the over-the-top performances from Adam West. I really like this movie. It's so much fun. Because you go into it expecting a campy, silly 60s Batman film, and you get just that. The performances are way over the top, from Joker to Batman to Robin. So many fun things within this film. I absolutely love the bomb sequence with Batman running around. You have sharks in here. So many things that just don't make sense. At times the storyline feels a little bit repetitive, but this is just a very colorful, vibrant superhero film that has me entertained from beginning to end. Coming in number 25, DC League of Super Pets. I didn't expect so much heart and emotion within this film. I felt immediately connected to the animals. Some were abandoned or put up for adoption, and you feel like they are just lonely and really just searching to have a human to be with. And I love that about this film. I love the voice acting from Dwayne Johnson, Kate McKinnon, Kevin Hart. It's a lot of fun. Kate McKinnon is absolutely hilarious in this film as the villain. But as the film progressed and we knew more about the pets, the more I cared about it and the more I was invested with the storyline. I love the voice acting, the animation's great. It's overall an entertaining animated film. Coming in at number 24, Superman Returns. When I watched this as a teenager, I did not know it was connected to the first two Christopher Reeve Superman films. And at that point, I had not seen a Christopher Reeve Superman film. Superman Returns was really like my first introduction to a Superman movie. Now, as an adult, I can see that continuation from those first two Christopher Reeve films. I think Bryan Singer does a great job of capturing the overall tone of the first two Christopher Reeve films. It's playful, it's campy at times, but also has this more serious aspect with Superman and him being absent for some time and struggling with returning to it all. I thought Kevin Spacey was great as Lex Luthor, a little more mean-spirited than Gene Hackman, but I thought it worked. It is a bit long at times, the action's fun, but it has a more deeper story, but still managing to capture the overall charm of the first two Christopher Reeve films. And I thought it was very successful on building off of those first two films. Coming in at number 23, Birds of Prey. Unfortunately, this film reminds me of the early stages of the pandemic. It was one of the last movies I saw in theaters before everything shut down. This is one of the films that I've watched several times, and every single time I appreciate it a little more. The action's intense, it's vibrant, it's very colorful. Margot Robbie is so cool within it, so I love her as Harley Quinn. Unfortunately, some of the minor characters, you could tell that they should have a lot to do in the film, but they just don't feel like that. They feel like they're just that minor characters, and they don't really contribute a lot till the end of the film. But Ewan McGregor is really fun in here. This unhinged performance. It's got a very simple revenge story and Margot Robbie protecting herself and this emancipation from Joker and her finally breaking it off with him. It's really focused on her, and I love that. I understand what she's going through. Just that more in-depth look at that character. I wish the minor characters had a little more to do, but I really liked Harley Quinn in here. The action's fun, it's intense, it's vibrant, it's colorful, got a nice soundtrack to it. Overall, it's a really entertaining movie. Coming in at number 22, V for Vendetta. This was another one I watched for the first time, more of the DC imprints that I watched for the first time. I knew enough of V for Vendetta, like the look of V, Natalie Portman, bald within the film. I can't get over the look of V, especially with V with an apron in the hair. It's very silly to me. but I thought this was a very serious, dramatic film. From the performances from Hugo Weaving to Natalie Portman to the structure of the story and what it wants to accomplish, it's very different than your typical DC film. And it's nice that these DC imprints were able to tell some very dramatic stories and have a more serious tone with it. It doesn't feel like Batman or Aquaman or Blue Beetle. It's more of a grounded, very dramatic film, and I really like that about this movie. You're able to be completely involved with the story and the current government at the time of this storyline, and V's mission, and Natalie Portman's involvement in all of it. I thought there was a great connection between the two. I understand V's side of everything. Beautifully shot. The script is really tight. The dialogue is snappy between characters. You get fully invested in the conversations between characters, but the story, performances, I thought it was great for the first time watch. Coming in at number 21, Superman 2. This isn't the Richard Donner cut. It is the one that was released first, Superman 2. I like seeing General Zod within this film. I don't think it is as successful as that first Superman film of being a groundbreaking superhero movie with having a lot of heart and fun action scenes and a great portrayal of Christopher Reeve. I think he does a great job within this film. Like I said earlier in the video, I thought he did a great job in Superman 3 and 4, but I still really like him in here. I like the look of Lois Lane trying to figure out if Clark Kent is Superman. I thought that was a nice little touch to the film. Understanding more of Superman and his place in the world, looking at the Fortress of Solitude. A little less of Lex Luthor and more of General Zod. I thought General Zod was intimidating within this film, added a lot of intensity to the movie. Times scenes feel a little bit corny, and I know it's more like a playful comic book movie from long time ago, but certain scenes just feel not cringy, but just a little bit corny at times, and you're kind of taken out of the film. I know a lot of people love the first two Christopher Reeve films. I didn't grow up on them, so I don't have that strongest connection to these movies, but I thought it was enjoyable. A couple villains in here, some fun sequences between Lois Lane and Clark Kent, I thought added more attributes to the characters and really fully understood them, but I liked it. I'm not gonna lie and say it's the best Superman film, and it's not gonna be the top one either, but I thought it was a good movie. Coming in at number 20, Aquaman. James Wan's Aquaman film, long. I will admit it is a long film, and at times it does drag and seems a little bit repetitive, but it has good scenes within it. The fight scene on land between Aquaman and Black Manta is really thrilling. The end is very intense as well. I love learning about Aquaman as a character and him learning about his position in his kingdom and how he has to kind of overcome things and be that person that everybody wants him to be. But he's got his family on land as well, so we have that nice balance to everything. It's a good looking film. James Wan is a talented director, and I think he does a great job of capturing both land and sea and having some thrilling sequences within it. I think they could have shaved off a few scenes here and there to kind of have a more tight runtime, but I really like Jason Momoa as Aquaman. That energy is there, the charisma is there, a character that cares about protecting people, and you see why he could be the king of Atlantis. I really like this film. It's fun. I wish the sequel was better, but at least we got a good Aquaman film. Coming in at number 19, Road to Perdition. This is another film I watched for the first time, and much like V for Vendetta, it is a very dramatic movie. Really good performances. The cast is stellar, from Tom Hanks to Daniel Craig. I loved this movie. It was very intense. You have a nice relationship between father and son that does develop throughout the film. It's a film that has a lot of anxious moments when you look at this father and son, and they have to protect themselves after what happened to their family. It's a very bleak movie. Like the overall film's like color is very dark. It doesn't have any vibrant moments, not colorful throughout. it's a very bleak looking movie, and I think that added so much to the overall tone of this film, that it's emotional what this family has gone through. And you have performances that are very strong, and people are backstabbing each other left and right. The film is constantly moving. The plot is always evolving to the next scene in the right pace. Performances add a lot to the movie. I was really happy with watching this for the first time. A few of them I was really excited for, like V for Vendetta and Constantine and Road to Perdition. I was really looking forward to watching those films, and they really did pay off. I mean, I should have watched them years ago when I had a easier chance, but now watching these films, I really like Road to Perdition and why it is more of that mature, graphic, grounded film. Coming in number 18, Shazam. I like the first Shazam film. I think it has this nice balance of comedy and action and heart to it. It really has a lot of things moving within it. I really like Billy Batson as a character, somebody that has gone through a lot within that film, and he's searching for his mother. He wants to be part of a family, and that's where the heart comes. But also, he's very sarcastic when he turns into a superhero. Zachary Levi is able to provide a lot of comedy, so there's your comedy, but then it has intense action that's also a little bit darker at times when you have our villain in it all. At times it does have that typical superhero origin feel to it, but they're able to play around with it and have a lot of fun, and it feels very childish at times, but mature as well. It just ends up working. Coming in at number 17, the Lego Batman film. This is so funny. Will Arnett is great as Batman, capturing a lot of cliches about Batman while having fun with it all, but also tells a fun Batman story with a lot of villains within it. Joker as Joker, voiced by Zach Galifianakis, is able to just provide the classic sinister vibe to it, but also everything just feels very playful. The jokes worked. I'm constantly laughing throughout. It's got a very fun Lego feel to it all. Tells a great Batman story, but also just has funny references, comedic moments constantly throughout, a lot of action as well. But then you look at the heart of the family and what Bruce Wayne is missing in his life and how Robin wants to be part of his life. Building that family story is very endearing within the film, and it gives it its heart. I like the film. It's funny throughout, constantly laughing. The Lego animation is really fun. I like that they were able to bring back Will Arnett from the Lego movie into this film. I wish they would have done some more spin-offs because it worked. I had a great time with it, and I feel like it just kind of ended after like the Lego Ninjago film. I wanted more movies like this, like couple every year, because they are absolutely hilarious. Coming in at number 16, Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut. I'm going to be including Zack Snyder's Justice League, and so I should also include the Richard Donner cut. This film feels different than the original Superman 2 film. More so the understanding of Superman's father within this film. More Marlon Brando is able to add more depth to that relationship and how it does affect Superman. Also, Lois Lane learning about Clark Kent as Superman. Everything else seems like kind of like the same thing as that first film. There isn't many big, huge differences, but the differences are able to change up the story and add more emotion to it, more depth to the characters, more of an understanding of Clark Kent as a human and also as Superman. So the differences between the Richard Donner cut and the original Superman 2 is enough to make it feel like it is a better film. It's still very playful, has some corny moments throughout, but still, I think the differences do affect this movie. Coming in at number 15, Watchmen. Zack Snyder's Watchmen film. It's long, it's very gripping, very intense. A very dark look at these characters and what they have gone through. You have many different characters, different personalities that clash with each other. Relationships are being built throughout. You have a good story of a government crackdown for these vigilantes. One of the members is brutally murdered. An investigation to find the killer is initiated. You have the heroes that reunite within this film. Great performances from everybody. There's enough development for them, like you understand them throughout this long runtime. The action is intense. I thought the end seemed a little bit rushed with its villain. A couple cliche generic moments along the way, but still Watchmen is a really intriguing film for looking at what these masked vigilantes have gone through and them being tasked with finding a killer, but also looking at what they've gone through with the government as well and how they're involved. I thought there was enough scenes in this film that really intrigued me with its story. The script is compelling, the dialogue is intense throughout, the characters, Zack Snyder's direction is beautiful in here. A lot of bleak, darker moments in here, but when you get some of the costume designs, that's where like the brighter moments kind of push itself throughout the film. But Watchmen, I enjoyed it ever since I first watched it, and still to this day I do think it is a very intense, long superhero film with characters that I still like to learn about and watch this film to appreciate it more here and there, read the comics. I haven't watched the show. I do plan on it at some point in my life, but I really do like the Watchmen movie. Coming in at number 14, Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot gives a great performance as Wonder Woman. I do think a lot of people will make fun of her as an actress, but I think she fits the mold for Wonder Woman, and we get to see a lot of emotion behind that character. A lot of determination. She's motivated constantly throughout. She wants to do the right thing. That's a big theme within this film. The score is amazing and really elevates a lot of the sequences. Patty Jenkins is able to capture the era that this takes place in. Chris Pine and Gal Gadot have really great chemistry. It does have some cliche, like generic superhero moments with her rising to the challenge, but I think that all feels perfect within this film. Like, it has its reasoning for feeling that way, and in No Man's Land, still to this day one of the best moments in the DCEU. Coming in at number 13, The Dark Knight Rises. To close off the Christopher Nolan trilogy, we got some good villains in here. Bane. Tom Hardy gives a truly sinister, dark performance as Bane that really challenges Batman as a character. It isn't as tight or emotional or intense as Batman Begins or The Dark Knight, but I still really like this film. Anne Hathaway is great as Catwoman. You have a lot of great sequences with her and her relationship with Bruce Wayne, but Bane is able to really test Bruce Wayne, and compared to the Joker and Scarecrow in the first film, I think this was his biggest opponent in the trilogy, and added a sense of urgency throughout Gotham compared to the first two films. You have a lot of big sequences on the streets of Gotham that's able to elevate the action scenes, give it that sense of urgency. I thought certain scenes went on for a little bit too long and a little bit rushed, but I thought the overall scope of the movie was there. Christopher Nolan's direction once again was a knockout. What Bruce Wayne went throughout this film, you could just see that motivation grow throughout this character. And throughout the trilogy, we've seen him just adapt to many different things throughout the films, and he's overcome a lot, and we see that within this film. But honestly, Tom Hardy as Bane, still to this day one of the coolest performances in a Batman movie. Coming in at number 12, The Joker. Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker. This was a film that really came out of nowhere and surprised me, because I didn't really have much expectations going into it. I didn't like the idea of doing a solo Joker film after having Jared Leto as the Joker, but it took a gamble and it paid off. This is a very horrific, violent Joker movie that is able to understand and really tap into the mindset of the Joker in here, Arthur Fleck. I thought there was this nice momentum to where he seemed a very misunderstood, and he wasn't a character that many people could connect with, and he just seemed out of place. That's where you sympathize with the character, but then you have this momentum shift to where it became more violent, and he wanted to showcase like his emotions on camera and what he was dealing with and all the trauma that he's had in his life. That's where the film took off and became this violent, graphic movie that had a lot of darker scenes to it. But the Joker had a really great pace to it. You understood the character, everything was moving throughout, and you just had this momentum build to a very epic, emotional great end to the film. The sequel, it's crazy that the first one's like closer to the top and the sequel is more towards the bottom of the list. I don't think there's like that big of a difference between two movies on this list. But The Joker, great performance from Joaquin Phoenix. He really goes all in with this role, and it's one of the best DC films. Coming in at number 11, Superman, Christopher Reeve's Superman film. It is a groundbreaking film. I will give it that. It has all the moments that you really understand Superman as a character, the symbol for hope. I love his relationship with Lois Lane. Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor is great. It has some corny moments, but it just, you feel the achievement within this film. You feel all of the hope and the excitement of this superhero film. The score is outstanding in here. Performances are amazing. It does feel like this classic superhero origin film. You understand everything about the character. The action's fun. For the time it was released, it looks really great. I mean, films look better now, but when it was released, it looks really good. And you just believe everything that is happening within this film. That sense of wonder and emotion and heart to it is definitely within this film, and I can understand why a lot of people put this more so with like in the top 5. Like, I would not argue why people would say, I would not argue anybody who would put it like in the top 5. I don't feel super connected to it since I didn't grow up watching it, but I still understand the importance of it all and how it really set off the superhero genre and was groundbreaking for the time it was released. Coming in at number 10, Batman Mask of the Phantasm. This is a really good animated film. Is one that I have very like foggy memories of watching as a kid. I did watch the Batman show, and I was really big into some of the other superhero shows, the animated shows in the 90s. But I don't remember like fully watching it as a kid. So now watching it as an adult, it has a really good story. A very gritty, dark story for an animated movie. And this was released in theaters, and it's still like a very successful movie today. Like, it's a fan favorite when you look at the Batman movies, what Bruce Wayne goes through. There's a lot of emotion to it. A very twisty end to the film as well. When you look at the villain within this film, it really kind of shakes things up, but it has a gripping approach to it. Like, it doesn't feel like a fluffy Batman movie. When you look at Batman and being like a detective, this is what I imagine the story to be. Imagine from the comics, a gritty approach to the character that has action and consequences for Bruce Wayne within this film. Everything about this film is great. From having the Joker in here, the animation looks great. It's very dark, but also some colorful moments when you come to the characters and everything. But I really like the story. Coming in at number 9, Superman, the latest film by James Gunn. I really like this film. It has this nice balance of heart, comedy. Nicholas Hoult gives such a good performance as Lex Luthor, but also really like David Cornsweet as Superman, that symbol for hope, cares about people, wants to put his best foot forward. That's what I really like about the character in it. It has a lot of comedy. The Justice Gang is really entertaining. I like Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane. She had a great relationship with the character Clark Kent, but being thrown into this world, I think it did a great job of just kind of putting us into it. We didn't have to understand a lot of things that were going on. We just believed everything that was happening. The end is really great with the action and understanding Superman as a character. A lot of development for Lex Luthor as a villain in his moments of being envious, and he will admit that. And he's very smart, and we see that ability that Lex Luthor has within this film. Krypto was adorable. James Gunn understands comic book movies, and this feels like a comic book movie. It feels cartoony, it feels campy. I love that about this movie, and I can't wait to see more of Superman in the DCU moving forward. And I hope that James Gunn is able to do another film like this moving forward, because he is a great director that really cares about superhero films. Coming in at number 8, Man of Steel, the first film in the DCEU. Henry Cavill was great as Superman. Much like David Cornsweet, he cared about people. He was the symbol for hope. He wanted to better himself. Zack Snyder's style is very different than James Gunn's style. This was a much darker, grittier Batman film that didn't have a lot of color within it, where James Gunn was very vibrant and colorful throughout. And I think that works for this film, Man of Steel, is that you can have a lot of action. General Zod was a great pick for the first villain in here to really offer up a lot of intense actions and really test Superman throughout the film. But you have your classic moments of Clark Kent as a character, what he's gone through, his time on Earth, and wanting to know more about his family. I thought that was a nice touch to the film. Zack Snyder is a fabulous director and offers up his style that does work for this film and is able to tell a gripping story for Superman. Very different than Superman by James Gunn, and I'm sure a lot of people will compare the two, as it is really like the start of each universe. But I thought Man of Steel, still to this day, the score really elevates a lot of scenes. It's action packed, it's got a lot of heart to it, some funny moments throughout. But it's a character that I really cared about, and I think Henry Cavill did a great job selling this character to really believe him that this man can fly and save the day, and anything that will come in his way, he will try to protect you from it, and you just care so much about that character. Coming in at number 7, Zack Snyder's Justice League. If I'm going to include Richard Donner's cut, I also have to include Zack Snyder's cut. I thought the changes from this Justice League to the one by Joss Whedon was very different. You have a 4-hour film to really flesh out everything from the characters to the villain, everything. You got a more comprehensive look at, and you love that. You understood everything that was going on, the plots that were evolving throughout, the relationships that were being tested, how characters had to overcome things. Everything about it seemed like the right thing that needed to happen. Like, this was the clear vision that Zack Snyder wanted to have for his Justice League film, without all of the implications and things being changed. Be able to fully flesh out the plot, and I really like that about this movie, that you're able to be like fully immersed in the film. There's dedication to Batman and more of Cyborg and more of the villains, Darkseid, and more of like things that feel urgent throughout. When you look at the past with other characters and more focus on Steppenwolf, everything just felt fully fleshed out and having a solid reason of being in there. I wish we would have had more Zack Snyder Justice League films, but I don't think that's ever going to happen, unfortunately. But I thought this was such a nice way to have his clear vision being released and fully understand what he wanted to accomplish within this film. 4 hours, just intense ride throughout. You get so much more of the characters. Things don't feel shortened or cut down. Everything just has this nice pace to it, and I was surprised, honestly, that we actually got this film. Coming in number 6, The Suicide Squad, another James Gunn film that completely shifted the original Suicide Squad movie, where that movie did not work. This one does. It understands the characters, has heart to it. Everything I wanted the first Suicide Squad to be, this is it. This has intense action, likable characters, funny moments, a plot that allows for the characters to do the right thing. Like, these are bad characters in the beginning. We fully understand that, but they have that chance to grow throughout, and they start to become better characters, and you care about them. They start to do the right thing, and that works. That didn't happen in that first film. Now he is able to fully flesh out the characters and understand what they're going through. John Cena is hilarious in here as Peacemaker. Still have not watched this show. Really want to, leading up to the second season. But these are such likable characters. Like, I wanted to see them do the right thing, and if they weren't, you understood why, and you just were there for a good time. It's high energy. There's high energy. The comedy's funny. James Gunn's just a great director when it comes to superhero films, from the Guardians movies to now Superman and the Suicide Squad. He does the right thing for this film of just building intense characters, great relationships. It's action packed, it's colorful throughout, much like other James Gunn films. But I really like this movie, and I was really impressed with it. It's my favorite DCEU film and one of the best DC movies. Coming in at number 5, Batman Returns, the sequel to Batman, the Tim Burton film. I like Danny DeVito as the Penguin. As a kid, it truly terrified me. But this one and the first Batman film are very dark with its style. Tim Burton's just a dark director, but this movie creeped me out as a kid. It still creeps me out as an adult. Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman works. It's just intense throughout and just give a really chilling vibe throughout this movie. The score is able to elevate that creepy atmosphere in it, but Batman, Michael Keaton, still once again really great as Bruce Wayne and Batman. You have enough development to both sides of Bruce Wayne and Batman as well, but a lot of fun action sequences between both. At times it seems a little bit silly with the Penguin as a character, but you're still able to add a lot to that atmosphere. At the beginning of the film with him as a child was very disturbing to me. I really like this movie. I like the characters, the story, the look of it. Tim Burton, I love him as a director. I think he has directed many great films, but his style is able to match more of like this slimy look at Gotham and Danny DeVito's Penguin. It's all able to match everything in it. Like everything just plays off of each other very well. You don't have any colorful or vibrant sequences. Everything just feels bleak and dark throughout. I remember watching a lot as a kid and the first Batman movie as well, but I really like the sequel and what Tim Burton was able to do. Coming in at number 4, The Batman, the first film directed by Tim Burton with Michael Keaton. This was a really intense movie, a great start to all the Batman films. I thought Jack Nicholson was a perfect choice as the Joker. The perfect amount of intensity, craziness, chaos, unhinged performance. A huge standout in that Batman movie. Michael Keaton's great, much like Batman Returns. You have the nice balance of Bruce Wayne and the Batman as well, but it tells a very simple story, a very direct story for Batman when it comes to the Joker. Tim Burton's style is very apparent within here. It's very dark, bleak throughout. I like seeing the progression of Batman as a character and all of the fight sequences with the Joker. And the fight sequences with the Joker, I remember watching a lot as a kid and really appreciate it and constantly rewatching that movie. So I do have fond memories of that film. Still to this day, Michael Keaton is one of the best Batman actors. The script is intense. It's gripping throughout. You have a lot of chilling sequences when it does come to the Joker. But the Joker was a great pick for that first movie, allowing for that unhinged performance from Jack Nicholson to really elevate a lot of sequences. I will watch this movie constantly. I like Tim Burton as a director, and I think he was a great pick for these first 2 Batman films. Coming in at number 3, Batman Begins, the first Christopher Nolan Batman film. He also is a great director, and his style works for these movies. He's able to have a much slowed down approach to the movies where you understand the plot. You have a lot of moving pieces. You have a lot of development for moments of like Bruce Wayne investigating the Scarecrow and conversations that flow naturally throughout. It is that origin story, but it works for Christopher Nolan. Like you have the training montages and you have Liam Neeson and you have the Scarecrow, which is intense. It may fit what could have been a generic superhero origin film. It allowed for it to be a movie that felt emotional and groundbreaking when it was released. And even though it has those montages and it has all of like the typical moments from an origin story, it does work. And his direction is like perfect in like a lot of his movies. Christian Bale as Batman is perfect. He really captures the character that believes in himself and wants to do the right thing and will fight for people within the film. him up against Scarecrow was a challenging character. I remember seeing Batman Begins when I was younger, when I was a teenager, and wanting him to be like the Joker for the first film, or Mr. Freeze or Poison Ivy as a kid, as a teenager. But I thought the Scarecrow was a great first villain, a more like street level character that challenged Bruce Wayne mentally, and it has some deeper themes throughout. Batman Begins, one of Christopher Nolan's best films, and obviously one of the best DC films. Coming in at number 2, The Batman. Robert Pattinson is amazing as the Batman. A more grittier approach to that character, Bruce Wayne. Matt Reeves' direction is very gritty. It's very intense, and captures a atmosphere about Gotham that I would expect. At times Gotham seems too clean. At times Gotham has been downright disgusting, and I feel like Matt Reeves was able to capture the atmosphere of Gotham very well. But it offers up like this more detective mob look at the storyline with the Penguin and Catwoman in here. Bruce Wayne feels more of a detective this time around compared to other versions of Batman. But the so many cool action scenes with the car chase sequence with the Penguin elevates certain scenes. The score is absolutely fantastic. The Riddler is very mysterious and chilling throughout. Paul Dano is perfect as the Riddler. This was the last film that I gave a perfect 5 out of 5, the most recent release that I have given a perfect score to. I really hope we have a sequel to the Batman, because this was one of the best superhero films I have seen. I loved Robert Pattinson. I loved Colin Farrell, Paul Dano. Everybody was perfect in here. The detective look at it all is great. The relationships are perfect. The direction, style, all of it is very gritty, intense, and I was completely blown away by this film. But coming in first place, The Dark Knight. This is a lot of people's favorite DC film, and I don't think this is going to change for me. I mean, the Batman's pretty good, but I would never put the Batman as number 1. The Dark Knight is the perfect DC film and one of the best superhero films I have ever seen. Christopher Nolan, I remember seeing this in summer of 2008 and completely being blown away by it all. Like, I have very vivid memories of seeing this in theaters a couple times actually, and Christopher Nolan's style is absolutely perfect. Like, this is just much more than a Batman film. Like, there's politics involved with it all, with Two-Face, Harvey Dent's character, but it's Heath Ledger that gives the best villain performance of all time. He absolutely taps into the Joker to the point where I don't even see Heath Ledger within this role. It is that chilling. It is that creepy. It's an unhinged, very chaotic performance from Heath Ledger that's still to this day one of like the best performances I have seen in a comic book movie. It's intense. It's gripping as can be. It's emotional when you look at what Bruce Wayne has to go through. Perfect like back and forth between Batman and the Joker. It's still an amazing comic book movie. Also Christopher Nolan's best movie. I absolutely love The Dark Knight. It's one of those films that you can just put on and watch everything just unfold right in front of you, and you just appreciate everything about the movie. The pacing's perfect. The conversations between characters add so much depth to them. Harvey Dent's transition is handled so well. The Joker has a perfect introduction that is so chilling and iconic. The Dark Knight is the best DC movie and one of the best comic book movies I have ever seen. So there you guys have it. Every DC movie released in theaters ranked worst to best. Have you seen them all? Let me know your ranking in the comment section down below, and stay tuned for more up and coming content like this. My name is Justin Watches Movies, and you guys stay classy, YouTube.